Well, good evening, Sláinte, and we're on episode 13 of the series. Lovely time to start. Come into the show if you haven't been before. So we've got a special guest on tonight. And for those that are like looking at the screen going, is this Paul's double? Is it someone who looks like him? What's he done to his facial hair? Well, that's because everyone who knows Beardy Dave, who was on a couple of weeks with us, talking about raising money for charity. And I says to him, look, I'm going to shave my beard off at exactly the same time, and we'll see who can grow it back quicker. So, Dave, we're on a race. Let's do it. But tonight, I probably have, in fact, I know I have the best beard in the north on tonight, so it doesn't matter. Dave's is gone. Joe's is here to remain. So listen, yes, evening, William. Evening, Connor. Sorry if I scared you. Gareth, wise up. Yes, Jonathan and David, evening. Okay, so listen, big welcome to Joe Magowan, representing Dillon Bass and Ideal Brands. So here we go. How are we, Joe?
I'm not too bad, Paul. I'm keeping well. How are you?
Unreal. But I'm just saying, you do have the best beard in the north. Definitely the best brand ambassador beard in the north. That's without a shadow of doubt. Most of them can barely grow a beard, and some are women. So you're very lucky to have this massive Gandalf-looking contraption on your face. But you won't shave it. I suggested that we go for a shave, and you said no, just don't do it.
Well, you know why I wouldn't do it? It's because it'd be, I think, politely asked not to come back to work. It's part of the brand now.
It is. Yeah. It is the brand. It is the brand. You talk about RedBreast and Joe Magowan's beard. Yeah, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
But I jokingly said, we might find squirrels in there at some point, and you said maybe a wee RedBreast might be poking out at some point. It's
get away. Photoshop the wee Robin in there. I think.
Brilliant.
I think that'd be a good one.
Is that the birdhouse? Robert's saying. There you go. Is that the birdhouse? Interesting. Where's Paul? Oh, we're getting some comments in here. Look, plenty of early bird commentary coming on here. But look, that's nice. Where's the beard? I don't know. It's gone. And look,
you should have just waited one more day, Paul, because I think now with me, like on the other half of the screen and you on that side,
I know it's a complete contrast. A complete contrast.
Suits you.
But do you know what? It will suit me, but I'll be gone very soon. I like Mark's approach. Mark, thank you. Fresh face, young loon. Now we could talk about loons. There's plenty of conversation in Belfast right now. We're not going to talk about it. We'll touch on it. I don't want to be a young person at the moment in Belfast because they're getting a bad rep, bad time. But listen, if I went back into Sainsbury's, do you think they'd ID me again? That's the question. Before I went in, I had a big, massive beard on. So there you go. Look, Joe is here, and Joe's here for a very good reason. Joe is the brand ambassador for some great brands that we have available to us in the north. So RedBreast, Method and Madness, Jameson, Midleton range, the spots. He has the ability to play with all of that. But he is not just a brand ambassador. He is the brand manager. He is the top dog. There is no one above him. He is the man when it comes to all these brands in the north. And look, I'm just very privileged to know him. And I think that I do mean that. And I always say this about Joe, that it's just a pleasure. When we've had some good fun together. We've done some shows together. We've done Paul v. Joe nights, which is really interesting. Joe brings a selection of very fine whiskey, and I bring shite. And sometimes
I remember the first time I did it. The first time I did it, I told you I had a very tame lineup, and you blew me out of the water with all these silent distillery releases and all these old Scotch distilleries that don't exist anymore. So ever since then, I have my guard up. Now I know what to look out for with you.
Fair enough. Listen, I'm going to have a wee drink when we're on tonight because I think that why not? And I'm very lucky because the last time we had a tasting, I have some very small samples left over for the last time we did a tasting together. So I'm going to start off my evening. I've got 4 tonight, so I'm going to start off with the Jameson Gold Reserve, 40%. I think that's it's a nice wee starter.
I would start there,
particularly when I know what I'm going to be drinking. And do you know what, Joe? just because you're on tonight. And look, for those that don't know, there is a big, massive difference between Belfast Whisky Club, which is purely independent and run by complete nutcases, and then there's Whisky Club NI, which is actually, a fantastic project which Joe heads up. So I've got your glass here. I have no issues like plugging that to hell, which is
appreciate it, Paul. So appreciate it.
Whisky Club NI is a magical place where you guys do lots of tastings all around Northern Ireland with lots of different bars, lots of different off licenses, keeping it real with the guys who are selling your product, and I think that's brilliant. And a lot of people have got involved with your tastings over the years. So always a cracking competition, and it feels like there's one every month. It just feels like there's a competition all the time. So look, you do really well.
No, I think we've definitely done a lot of competitions recently because, unfortunately, with the situation with the trade being closed, we don't want to just shut down and not communicate to people. So we decided giveaways and competitions, and we're always trying to find fun ways to interact with our audience here. But it's been difficult in that regard because events have always been a big part of it for us. Like the events were always the main thing. It was always get people down to an event and give them a glass of whiskey. Yeah. But hopefully it'll not be too long before we can get back to that.
Joe, this is the Jameson Gold Reserve, currently unavailable. So went out of fashion, according to Jameson. Very silly move. Very, very silly. It's an absolute.
I'd be lying if I said it is a bit of a shame that we can't get it on anymore. But that is the unfortunate way. Having a big portfolio works is you just sometimes have to make room for new releases. And I'm sure yourself, Jameson, over the last few years has been exploding with the Caskmate series, the Cold Brew, and there's more things happening behind scenes which are on the way as well. So, Joe, sadly,
let's talk about that Caskmate series. Let's talk about it for a second. That Caskmate series is causing a lot of people's hair to grow grey. The people chasing the I call them the 7 wonders, but there's 7 bottles which really are tough to come by. The majority of them are American bottles, and they're.
And you have them all
for love nor money now. For love nor money. I mean, I'm very lucky. I have the full set at the moment. I'm very, very lucky. But there's a lot of people who are stressing out trying to get the full set, and I really like what Jameson did there. Kind of just playing with other businesses. Using the different ale casks and IPA casks and beer casks. Absolutely brilliant. So really, really nice to see. And yes, there's now a crossover because we tried the Crested, and that had a stout finish. So it seems to be moving within the portfolio slightly. Yes.
Yeah. So that was a bit of an unusual one. So now it was a travel retail exclusive, so it wasn't like a full release that you could get anywhere. It was only available in the airports, and naturally the airports weren't particularly busy, so people were actually able to get it. But yeah, it is moving in a slightly different direction. So away from the kind of standard Jameson, if you want to call it that, moving to a slightly more premium one. But I didn't get a bottle of it. It's one of the ones because I didn't go on holiday this year, so I didn't get a chance to pick one up. But I do think I will get one eventually.
I think Joe, because you're so nice to me, I might have a spare one lying about. Maybe I'd just give it to you.
Even a taste of it, Paul. You're always good to me. You give me wee miniature bottles of things to try. So
I'm sure I can sort that out for you. There's also, I think the Jameson range has been cut back. Let's talk about the curtailment of Jameson. So curtailment of Jameson, we lost a 12-year-old.
Yeah, 12-year-old's been going for a while now.
And we lost the Gold Reserve. I suppose we lost the signature.
Yeah. Yeah. No, sorry, are you talking about Power Signature now?
No, the
Jameson. The Jameson signature. Yeah, the
Jameson
travel retail.
Yeah. So the 18 kind of came back. We lost that for a little period. It came back and it came out with a cask strength also. So where is Jameson now? We've got the Caskmates, which are still ongoing. Not as many releases as I thought there was going to be. In the last year, but still ongoing. And what else? What else is Jameson? What does the lineup look like for the next few years, Joe? Do you know?
I think the way some of these other ones have been discontinued, as much of a shame as it is, I think it has also to an extent kind of refined the personality of Jameson. So the way I see the brand now is being that, you know, doesn't take itself too seriously. Kind of has the ability to experiment, to try something new. So that's why we've had these kind of, you know, I guess more unusual releases. If you look at the Castmates series, which was, I suppose, at the time pretty unusual. So it's quite a playful brand, I think, you know, and I guess that's why some of the kind of more traditional, like the 12-year-old, maybe doesn't fit in the portfolio anymore. But the thing is, you know, whenever you discontinue something, there's always going to be at least a few real diehard fans who are going to be very upset about it. And that is unfortunate, but what we try to do is release something else for them and, you know, keep them happy.
No, fair play. I heard a cat. Someone has asked the question, where's the big fluffy cat, Joe?
He's stalking about here somewhere. If anybody hears him making strange noises, he's not in any kind of pain. He's just a very talkative cat. He just let me know that he's here. I could see him darting about in the background there.
Brilliant. John's asking about the RedBreast hats. We love the RedBreast hats. I mean, I told you what happened to my RedBreast hat. I told you what happened.
John, I owe John a RedBreast hat. I did tell him I would get one, and I do have one for him. John, I promise I'll get you that hat. I keep forgetting to drop it into your house.
I don't see him begging there. I didn't see John begging there. I didn't see that at all.
No. John, if I forget to give you something, don't be polite. Like, send me messages until I remember. WhatsApp me your address again, and I'll get you that hat, I promise.
So, Liam's asking a question. Is there a replacement Distiller Reserve?
Well, at the moment, it's the Black Barrel cast strength is the kind of bottle your own, you know. So it's the kind of unique experience that you can get at the distillery. I would say, yes, there probably will be more plans for other kind of exclusive things at the distillery, but there's nothing that I would be aware of at this stage. At the moment, it's just the cast strength Black Barrel.
Okay. And I need to put Dave's comment up there. Look at that. Loving the clean sheet. Dave, it's not, you know, we're on. I cannot wait to grow.
Are you taking bets on this, or like what's?
No, I just think I said to him, I said I think mine would grow back quicker, and it's only because my theory is quite simple. I would keep mine tighter and a lot. You know, I'd shave it a little bit more often than Dave ever would, and I think that it would now take a little bit longer for Dave's to start to grow. Whereas I think mine's maybe in the process where it needs to keep growing. We'll just see. We'll see what happens. And I don't know what your man's saying here, but Robert's asking me. I saw on Instagram 1st April you'd store a bottle in space. Oh right, that was an April Fool. You do know that, Robert?
we didn't send any whiskey into space.
He's a crackpot, that Robert guy.
I mean, I'm not going to say that we don't have plans to age a whiskey on the moon, but you know, we definitely didn't send one into space.
How good would that be? You know what I mean? And there's bound to be someone sending something up with that space shuttle X. And I mean, there's bound to be something.
Oh yeah, I'd say so. Like, I'd be very curious to see what would happen in space if you send a barrel of whiskey up there.
And they've done the whole put it on boats and matured it on boats under the water, underground. I'm sure very high altitude. There's been lots of ways to try and mature whiskey. So I don't think it's
yeah, I mean, we joke about it, but like, I'd say at some stage someone's definitely going to try it.
The Russians have done it. They did it first. No doubt. That's really kind, Shamini. Thank you very much. I'm sure she means you, Joe, because you do have a beautiful voice. There we go. So, Joe, I'm going to crack on with my second one, which is a Powers. This is a single cast release. I don't think we knew where it was released or if it was being released.
Oh, is this the one? Okay, yeah.
It's still not released.
It's not released, but it's happening. The wheels are in motion. So hopefully kind of September, October, we should see that one out. And I wish I could tell you about this one, but I can't at this point because it's quite an interesting story and it's quite unique.
Okay. So I'm very lucky. I mean, I'm very lucky to be drinking this. Thank you very much. So, and do you know what? Yeah, super nose. I think we all appreciate this one, Joe, to be honest.
I like this one as well.
Cash release Powers is just great, you know.
Yeah, I've been very privileged that like we've had quite a few single cask Powers releases since I've been in the business, which is great because it means I get to be involved in the process of selecting the liquid and looking at the artwork and, you know, working with the customer and getting everything arranged. Like the whole process is as much fun as drinking the whiskey is.
Yeah. Green bananas and really, you know, really kind of front end tropical note coming through.
which is funny because I'm just on the goat label at the moment, which to me is like it's not as much as the Three Swallow, but I just get that lovely ripe banana, like banana bread or like just like a really old freckly banana, one that you left sitting in the utility room for a couple of weeks.
Connor's asking a question: is it pub or is it shop? Is it pub or is it shop?
I can't give it away because this is
not going to give it away.
Northern Ireland's so small. If I tell you, I know. See, people in whiskey, they're like detectives. Like I remember the Dream cask releases, people were enhanced, like zooming in, trying to read the text in the label.
Do you know what's getting me, Joe? You know what's getting me? The people who have managed, that Dreamcast one was an interesting one. So whatever way had, someone had shadowed it, and then someone was able to invert the shadow. So so you saw every detail, and we're like, okay then. But yeah, it's the way people go and find releases that have escaped to different countries. I mean, the RedBreast small batch that went out to America even recently.
Yeah, it's just the way the cola trademark system works for in the United States. There's really nothing you can do to stop it from happening. There are guys that will just refresh that page a few times a day to see what's coming. And while it's disappointing that we don't have the the big reveal, then like it is also quite nice to see that people are so interested in what's coming up.
Do you know what, Joe? I mean, I was not aware of it until someone had messaged me saying, you do know that Midleton just released a new single cast today? And I was like, no, I had not heard anything about it. There was no chatter about it. I hadn't seen anything. And on the site, all of a sudden, there it was, a 25-year-old single cask Midleton went on sale last week. And I was like, what? Knew nothing about it. Obviously purchased one. Do you know what I mean? I was, unfortunately, if I had any more money, I would have probably purchased a second. And it sold out within minutes. Gone. Yeah. So sometimes you just don't even, you don't even hear about it, and all of a sudden, they're there. They're on your, they're on your.
But I think
buy.
I think that's a testament, though, to where Irish whiskey is now at the moment. Like these super premium releases, which are so highly sought after, are bought up, as you say, in minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's incredible. I mean, it's disappointing, obviously, that they go so fast and that not everybody can get some. But the fact that like when we released our RedBreast 10-year-old, it was sold out. 7,000 bottles sold out in about 4 hours.
Now, Joe, was it 7,000 bottles?
Yeah.
So it was definitely 7,000 bottles, and they were sold out like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know if it was 7,000 on the dot, but that was the kind of ballpark figure.
Wow. Just wow. No, I mean, really, really wow. I mean, that's brilliant. Again, because you could I think they were allowing 2 per customer, which is lovely, because that allows us in the club to purchase 2. We drink, we can drink one, straight away for a tasting. Also allows, for them to maybe be used at the festival. But no, really, really impressed. RedBreast. I mean, let's hope the Dream cask fiasco, if there has been in the past, doesn't happen again. But there is due one in a couple of months, potentially. Yes.
Yeah. So
wow.
Watch this space. It will be upon us soon enough.
I'm really excited because me, Joe. Because I like to take those Dream casks and I like to play them off against other RedBreasts. I like to see what people's opinions are. I don't think they're. I know a lot of people collect them. Yes, go ahead and collect them, flip them, do whatever you need to do, blah blah. But drinking's very important, and actually, it's pitting them against the other RedBreasts because there's so many good single cask RedBreasts out there.
And I think I have to say, Paul, like that's one of the things that you that's so great about your festival is that it's one of the only opportunities that people are going to get to taste like liquids like that side by side. Whether or not you're doing a dream cask, but I know you've done the likes of the single cask. Well, we did a tasting and we tasted all of the single casks for the friend at hand in Belfast. Like, what other opportunity are you going to get to taste all those liquids side by side?
Talk about that, Joe, actually. Talking about that, I was flattered in some respects. I was also slightly bemused and disappointed. But one of those boxes, which included the RedBreasts, went on sale on an auction site in Scotland for during the week there. And I was flattered in some respects. But someone took the box with all the samples in it and the glasses and the beautiful presentation and sent it off to auction, 6 months later. And and there was a demand for it because it sold, and it sold at a decent price.
But it's disappointing then that you've given that to someone or somebody's purchased it, and then
kinda. So that's I'm kind of like, it's flattering.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah, because people see the value in it, but at the same time, I wish that person that had bought it got to taste it, because I actually see those tastings. They are something really unique. Seeing things side by side. For the main, I would say 90% of our whiskey community, or this big community that we have, lots of people get involved. They don't have the money to go and purchase a bottle and then crack it open and drink it at those kind of prices. They are very expensive bottles of whiskey. We were talking here about the Jameson Gold Reserve. Now, back in the day when it was on the shelf, yeah, you probably would have picked that up. You probably would have drunk it. But even then, that was, it was one of the more expensive bottles on the shelf,
Mm-hmm.
It still had a bit of a price tag. We're going to talk about the Blue Spot in a second. And again, that's getting to the realms of an expensive whiskey. And when we talk about the fourth one that I have tonight, which is the RedBreast 27, that's up here. We're jumping a couple of £100 above those prices to get a really nice whiskey. But I think that the idea of doing tastings, and bringing them to an accessible place, within the festival, and making them, not ridiculously priced, cost price, if anything, or in terms of the distillery stuff, as cheap as possible, the cheapest that we can make it. Then that's what we're about. And it's nice to see, because I have a lot of comments from people messaging me saying this has been the best tasting I've ever done, and it's looking at things like the red spot, the RedBreast versus the spots. That was a lovely wee package, that people got. Or it was looking at the friend at hand collection. The amount of people that wanted that collection post the event, messaged me and saying, can you do this for me? Can you make this for me? And I'm like, no, maybe we can do it again at another festival, but it's not, it's something whereby the guys at the friend at hand, they pride themselves on not having a website. We want people to come to the shop, explore the shop, have a look at the beautiful museum pieces, and take away some good whiskey. But they, that's their main selling point. That is their unique selling point.
Well, that's what Willie Jack, his kind of mantra is always that he wants people to come to Belfast, not just to come to his shop, but also to drink in the bars, to eat in our restaurants, to use our taxi drivers. It brings money into the city, and it shows people Belfast as well, which most of the time is a very nice place to visit.
Yeah, yeah. I could see at the moment, Joe. Funny enough, I was down speaking to Paul during the week there, and that road. If anyone doesn't know Belfast, where the friend at hand is, there's three bars that is owned by the same guy we just spoke about there, Willie Jack. So we've got the Hart Bar, we've got the Duke of York, and we've got the Dark Horse. Now, that little street there called Hill Street used to be a street where all the main distilleries in Northern Ireland had their headquarters. So Bushmills had their headquarters there, Dunville's had their headquarters there at one point as well. And it used to be full of warehousing, places for the barrels and bottling. And nowadays it's artists, it's bars, it's a real cultural area and lovely. But at the moment, due to coronavirus, it has become a two-way street for people to queue for what, Joe?
Toasties.
Frickin' toasties. Cheese frickin' toasties. People wait 1 hour, Joe, for a cheese toastie.
Would you know what somebody was saying to me though? That he reckons part of the experience is the queue now, because that's how little there is to do with lockdown. Like, people will meet up and like queue next to me. It's kind of like socializing.
Yeah, yeah.
I am fond of a toastie.
I remember at the very start of the pandemic, I had to go to the shop. Now, this is because the only reason I had to go to the shop was because every, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, I'll call them all out, all of their little online thingamajigs just wasn't working. You just couldn't get a slot. I was like, how am I going to get my food? Tesco. So I go to Tesco, and it was the first time I'd ever queued for a shop outside of a shop. And it took forever. I think it took me about an hour from where I was standing to get into the shop. And that was the last time I decided I was ever going to queue for a shop. So these people queuing for toasties, I mean, no offence, like, but you could probably go and buy your wee toasty machine, you know what I mean? And wait in the house and wait for
recreate the experience.
It would be much quicker. And you could maybe have someone on the Zoom call with you saying, you want to wait for your toasty? You can wait with me right now for the toasty. I'll do it right now. I'll go and get the toasty machine, Joe, and I'll make you wait.
We'll all just jump
for the
on.
Toasty.
I mean, the toasties must be good. Like, they must be.
I think, no, let's be honest, it's a fantastic name. What was it called? The Toast Office.
Office, yeah.
So we'll give them a plug, the Toast Office. And here I heard the toasties are absolutely fabulous. And we're not going to diss the toasty. But we should think about people queuing for 1 hour for a toasty. That's all you need to think about. Absolutely mental. So, yeah. Look, we've got some questions about, is a toasty the same as a grilled cheese?
No.
I think so.
It's not, because a grilled cheese, and I think people take this pretty seriously, a grilled cheese can only have cheese in it, whereas a toasty can have cheese and something else.
Cheese and ham, cheese and chicken, cheese and whatever you want inside 2 bits of bread. It's like a sandwich pressed together in a toasty machine. Usually, some people just put it on the grill, right? But toasty machine's good, and then all of a sudden, you've got a toasty, and it's class.
But a grilled cheese is just cheese.
Is it right? Because you know what, I would eat that also.
I've seen people arguing about this on the internet. Like,
well, we're not having a fight today. We're not fighting. Don't bring on the fights.
I know people will argue about anything on the internet, but like, they seem to be pretty serious about this.
Listen, I know Wayne had that. I mean, look, there's loads of people come up with some questions, but Wayne was saying, "Is this the one we tried in the tasting?" Yes, it was indeed. And look, there you go. Connor said he cracked his RB10 open hours after the chat, after the cologne tasting. Really brilliant. See, we're talking about cologne, and all of a sudden people are drinking the RedBreast. Like, they give up on that shitey cologne crap. Not mine. Very quick. Brendan knows I'm joking, like, but
yeah. Brandon knows you're joking. Other people might not know you're joking.
No, I think there's a running joke right now about how good Irish whiskey is, Joe. You know what I mean? It is garnering at pace. A following here, obviously in Northern Ireland, but across the world. I think people are starting to click on to how good Irish whiskey is. The idea of the pot still revival, as it were. I mean, look, all these whiskies that I'm drinking tonight, I'm about to move on to the Blue Spot, are all pot still. And IDL have made a massive deal about the pot still. So, it is great to see so many people getting really behind the RedBreasts, behind the spots range, which is happening. And well done for this. This is just 7 years old, Joseph. 7 years old. Blue
it's
Spot.
a pretty special one. I'm a big fan of the Blue Spot. Now I have to say, it's probably, like, I would almost say it's my favorite in the range. Between it and the Yellow Spot, I'm a big fan of the Yellow Spot because it's got a sweet tooth and it just has that lovely sweet kind of creaminess to it. But the Blue Spot has a fair bit of kick. The spice is really up front, which kind of, if you're used to drinking the other, like if you went from a green spot to a blue spot, they're so different. It still has that quintessential, light, like, fruit character, but I just think there's just that extra bit of spice in there.
No, it's lovely, and that has a lovely dryness towards the end, which I just think is great. Love the dryness at the end. I think it's super. I'm a massive fan, and I think that I'm going to keep on saying this, and people have heard me talk about this before. There's a wake up call for every new distillery out there, and that does include Cologne. It includes, Ecklenville. It includes Shortcross. It includes every distillery who are bringing out liquids right now. When it gets to 7 years old, and it's a single pot still, I mean, this is the number. This is the number now. This Blue Spot have put a marker down here. And this is good. It is really, really, really good. And there could have been a point where it was crap. I thought I thought it was going to be 7 years. I mean, the green stuff, the green spot, 10 years is really, really good. The 15 I thought was really nice with the red spot, and the yellow spot, as you say, Joe, I find them really good. I actually was worried if this was not going to be as good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know I work for them, but I have to say, like, the guys down there, between the people distilling and the guys like Billy and Dave doing the blending, and guys in the cooperage, like, they're world class at their trade. They know what they're doing. So, I'm always confident that the whiskies are going to be good, and that's why I feel so privileged to be able to work for them and talk about them.
I know Connor's calling me out, but I know what he means. Okay, so yes, there's older spirit. I totally agree. And maybe I should have caveated that as well. Quite specifically, the youngest liquid in here.
Yeah. Sorry, that is a good point. Yes, yeah, yeah, so it is at least 7.
100%. But the fact is it's 7 on the label. The 7 on the label says something. So whether or not it's got a 15, 20-year-old whiskey in behind it, it's still 7 years old, and I think that, I'm just thinking it just creates this. It really does kind of create an unfair playing field for some of these other distilleries, because that is really, really good.
But do you not think that's, like, we're at a great stage right now in Irish whiskey? But do you not think of how fun it's going to be in 5 years' time when a lot of these a lot of these single pot stills start coming of age? Like, I've tried some, I've had some young pot stills. I've tried some 3s and 4-year-old, which are quite nice. But there's a few I've tried. I'm like, oh, this is really good. I'm really curious to see how this is going to taste in a few more years' time. So, like, the landscape can only get better.
Yes, without doubt. Look, there's a MP Moho saying some stuff.
The change between batch 1 and batch 2. There could have been, like, I'd say the guys are fairly good at consistency. To be honest, I've only actually had the 1 batch, I think, now, so I'd like to taste them side by side.
Well, what we know, Joe, is that there is going to be a complete difference between batch 1 and batch 2 of the blue spot. I mean, I didn't think the red spot. I mean, I'd have to go and try it again, but I've had both, because I remember there being a big debate about the the bottle numbers and when it was, because on the very back of the red spots you can see what the bar, not the barcode, there's like a kind of little code that gives a date and a timestamp, and I didn't think very much of the taste difference specific, but we do know that the blue spots are going to be different ABVs. There will be a complete change between batches, but yeah, I think Joe, you're making a very good point about. And even within your own stuff. So again, all these pot stills, but you've got some non-aged pot stills, non-aged statement stuff, through the Method and Madness range. Not everything has to be aged. And I think, or given an age statement. But yes, I think we're going to see different styles of pot still as well, aren't we? We're going to see different takes on pot still methodology through all these different distilleries. So that will give us something different. It will give us it will start to balance up the world a little bit, in the Irish whiskey terms. But
something I have to say, I think that I always find interesting about Midleton is, if anyone's not familiar with how Irish Distillers was formed, it was 3 competitors. So it was John Jameson and Son, John Power and Son, and the Cork Distillery Company, which is Paddy. And they were 3 unique types of pot still. It's very, very different styles of whiskey. So whenever they were building this new purpose-built facility in Midleton, they had to ensure that they were able to make these, unique styles. But something that I learned recently is the reason that the Power's distillery remained open in Dublin is because they were a wee bit skeptical, and they wanted to make sure that this new distillery in Cork could make the same style of whiskey that they were making in Dublin. So that's why the John's Lane distillery kept distilling, up into the early 70s, just to make sure that they were getting it right at Midleton. Unfortunately, they did.
They just didn't trust them.
No, they were, just like I said, just a wee bit skeptical, but everything obviously worked out, and they were happy that they were able to create the pot still style that Powers was known for in Midleton.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Fair play to people having a bit of skepticism, but at the same time, to see to see all these brands, but to see the lineage, you know, we can see the lineage of these whiskies that are produced down at IDL. None more so than the Redbreast lineage, you know, and that's been well documented of late. You know, people looking at the different types of styles of Redbreast coming through, that 10-year-old and 12-year-old, you know, coming through from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right the way through now to what we've got, and seeing a pattern, a DNA, but also, you know, new methodology being used also. And we get the talk of, you know, trad pot, mod pot, you know, different, you know, heavy distillates being used. And yeah, so I think that to me, that's been a really, you know, that's been a really interesting story. It's been lovely to follow of late. You know, there's been a lot of people coming on board and talking about it, digging in as much fact as we can. I've been privileged enough to buy many bottles of Redbreast and crack them all open. You know, be it from the 50s right the way through to some of these heavy hitters, you know, the big 30-year-old all port version from the Whiskey Exchange, be it the 25-year-old Redbreast from the Friend at Hand, or be it this little, you know, very inexpensive, only costs a fiver, 27-year-old.
Do you know what? The last time I was in a bar before the very first lockdown was I was at Bow Street in Dublin for the launch of Redbreast 27, and I remember thinking throughout all of lockdown, I was like, I'm glad that was my last experience in a bar, because I could have had a really bad pint in some rubbish bar, but I got to drink Redbreast 27 in Bow Street in Dublin.
Yeah, you know, yeah, if that was your last memory of being in a bar, it's class, like. You know what I mean? It's
a pretty special whiskey. Now, by no means, it is absolutely a very expensive whiskey. You're talking close to 500 quid.
Yes.
But I think, you know, everyone I've spoken to that has tried it has been like, yeah, no, I mean, it's as good as it gets, you know, as far as Redbreast goes. At least, you know, who knows what's next compared to the, you know, dream casks, etc., which are obviously a bit older. But I just think that port element just adds a slightly different spin on it, which, you know, people were skeptical at first because we're like, oh, this isn't really Redbreast, because Redbreast has always been, you know, bourbon and sherry, sort of introduced this port element. Maybe that was going in a slightly different direction, but I think it's a natural fit for the brand, and I think when people taste it, they're like, yeah, no, I can understand why the decision was made to use those port pipes.
It's those beautiful kind of wine gummy kind of notes that you get off it, which is really nice. You know, those Maynard wine gums, the black and the red only.
I was laughing about this at a tasting I did on Friday there. It's like, you're the same as me. I find the people who really get into whiskey, you tend to use your frame of reference for, you know, talking about your flavor profile is generally things that, you know, you encounter every day. So it might be things like wine gums or fruit pastels or Coca-Cola, you know, or breakfast cereal. You know, like some people like to pull these random, you know, unusual fruit varieties that people have never heard of to sound very smart, but like sometimes like yeah, it reminds me of cola cubes, you know, it's got that sweetness to it. But yeah, no, absolutely, I know what you're saying about the wine gums.
I got called out. I was doing a tasting. It was a private tasting for a company, and I got called out because I said the word pomegranate. Now, I didn't think pomegranate was an unusual fruit. Apparently is. I didn't know this.
Where was the tasting?
I was doing it for now he might be on Andrew Galway. I was doing it for Andrew Galway. His company is called Willis Insurance. So one of our sponsor partners for the festival. And yeah, I was doing it, and I think it was his boss. His boss called me out. He's like, "What are you on about pomegranate?" I was like, "Listen," and I then went, "I'm going to go and find it in the house," because he went, "You wouldn't even know." And I was like, you know, dried pomegranates, and they were like the kid, you know, the you know, kids snacks. See, kids snacks these days are all these dried fruits. You know, so you know you can give them what they think is shite, but it's not really. It's actually quite good for them. And dried pomegranates or little dried apples or little, you know, whatever it is, dried pomegranates, you know, these kind of wee things. And it was, you know, he was just like, nah, you're talking crap now. I'm going to go and find this. I'm off
Um,
around the house. And usually when I do my tastings, Joe, particularly when I'm at home, I mean, it's different when you're out and about. You know, I don't have a cabinet with me, but I'm at home. I'm able just to go and find something which automatically brings me back to that taste. You know, and I'm like,
yeah.
this reminds me of that quite specifically. You know,
But I
but
think
no,
I think the more that you eat, and I don't mean like the volume of food that you eat, but the variety, like the more types of
yes,
fruit that you've tried, or the more vegetables you've tried, or the more cheeses, whatever it might be, like that makes you better at describing flavor. You know, whether it's in whiskey or wine or beer or whatever it is, like you have that like linguistic knowledge then of what these things taste like.
Joe, this is really good. I don't want to talk anymore. I just want you to talk because I'm just loving this. For those that haven't had the 27, I'm so sorry, but I did include it many times throughout the festival. I've included it as often as possible. I've included the 27 through the tastings this year through the club. We will endeavour to try and do it again. There's no doubt about that. But you know, Joe, it must be an absolute joy to work with when this core range, you know, because I remember, you know, core range was only a 12-year-old. I say only, that's how I would now belittle the core range. The 12, the 15, and the 21. That was a great core range.
And
And
at
then
one
we
point
got,
it was just a 12.
yeah,
You
okay,
know,
it was just a 12, but you know, it has had a beautiful expansion. It's gone for the cast strength 12-year-old, you know, and it's now got this 27-year-old. It's got the La Style. You know, this is all great. You know, it's a great core range, and to see it all next to each other is a very beautiful thing. And then you've had lots of offshoots. You know, all these single cask offerings from RedBreast have really taken the enthusiast by. We really do get enthused, not just about that, but just about the whole. If there's a small amount, but it's just the taste. It's just you want to see the difference. You want to see the variant. What have they done here? Why is it been in the cask? Why is it gone at port? Why is it bourbon and sherry now? Do you mean why we're looking at these different component parts? It's a very interesting brand, and you cannot see. And Joe, I think you agree on this. The 12 12 does not lead to the 15. It doesn't.
no,
You don't drink the 12 and go, I'm going to step up here. I'm going to go to the 15. The 15 is it's a different
it's a
animal.
completely different whiskey, like
And
completely
same
different
with the
flavor
21.
profile. Yeah, I mean it's funny. Like people expect to taste the 12, and then they're going to move to the 15, and the 15 is going to be like the 12 but more complex. You know, a bit more intense in flavor. And then people think they're going to go to the 21, and it's just going to develop a little bit more. But they go in completely different directions while still managing to have the same DNA. You know, so whenever you taste the 15, you taste the 12, you can tell they're from the same brand, but the flavor profile is so different. Like, you know, and that's what's so funny is that some people I've spoken to say, you know, oh yeah, the 21's really nice, but I actually prefer the 12-year-old. Or some people say, oh, the 27, fantastic, but the 15, you know, is always my favorite. Which is so interesting because you naturally would expect that people would think the 27 is always going to be the best and everyone's going to love it the most. And while we're obviously big fans of the 27, you know, a lot of people still just are so in love with, you know, the 12 or the 15 or even the Lestat.
But do you know what, Joe? I think I don't think it's just about people being in love with it. I think there has now become, particularly in the last couple of years, but definitely in the last 5 years, the RedBreast 12-year-old has become a staple. I think in the Irish whiskey community, it's a staple drink, and there's a good reason for that. It is well priced. It is beyond doubt the best priced whiskey for what it is on the market. There is
Yeah.
not another whiskey out there which can come close to being on point for price. And now a lot of people are snobby as well, and they'll probably ignore it because it might seem too cheap. It's not cheap. It's just a great price.
I mean, I not to discredit, you know, because I think there are some fantastic, you know, other whiskey distilleries and other whiskey brands for the same price. But I think for me, I like the RedBreast, and this was before I even worked for the company. Was like if I wanted to, you know, impress somebody with Irish whiskey at the bar because maybe they'd never drank Irish whiskey before, or they only drank Scotch or American, I would buy them a RedBreast 12-year-old, and almost always they would be like, "Wow, I didn't realize this is what Irish whiskey tasted like or could taste like."
It just, do you know, it is. Joe, I'm a fond supporter of Irish whiskey. That's a fact, and I'll be very, very nice to lots of different people and talk about their whiskies. But I don't. But I will tell everyone their dog, the 12-year-old RedBreast, bang for buck. It's just we were. Now we still get it, and we're 40 quid a bottle here in the north. It's just great. It's just great value. It's just honestly. So look, you know what? I think there's a lot of people who love it, and they'll come back to it, and there's good reason for it. It's not just the taste. It's good value for money. You know for a fact if you're going to go and buy a bottle, it's not going to let you down, Joe. It's not going to let you down, and I think that you're more likely if you've got money in your hand. You're more likely to go and buy it over the 15. You'll buy it over the Listal. And it's only when you think about different occasions or maybe different taste and the different, maybe palate that you maybe change direction and purchase something a little bit more expensive. But I think, buying for buck and the cask strength, the 12-year-old cask strength as well.
People are in love with the cask strength 12-year-old.
On the money. It's on the money, Joe. It's on the money. So, listen, that's been really good. I think if I'm going to be critical, and I can be critical, I think we should be critical. I think that the 27 is an expensive drink. It's a very, very beautiful. I mean, I don't want to stop drinking it. It's a very, very beautiful composition, but it's an expensive composition.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny it. It is definitely an expensive whiskey. I mean, again, I think that's probably why the likes of your tasting boxes are so in demand, because to have a chance to try it without having to buy a full bottle. I mean, for me, that's the reason I started going to whiskey tastings in the first place. Like, I remember going to them back in the early days in the Hudson, and it was like looking at the whiskeys we're going to taste. I'm like, I would never try it. I'm never going to buy myself a bottle of this whiskey, or unlikely to buy a bottle of it. Yeah. But I'll pay 15 quid for a ticket and taste, a drop of it.
Yeah, you're well, that's what they're all about. Aaron's got a good point. I've left it on the screen here for a while, just because he says batch 1 and batch 2 of the 27. There is 2 different ABVs, very slight difference in ABV, I believe. And I'm assuming there's going to be a different taste.
Yeah, I mean that's the nature of bottling anything at cask strength. There is the chance that there will be a bit of variation. And to be honest, though, I think with whiskies like that, and definitely the likes of the 12-year-old cask strength, you still got your Easter eggs. Definitely with the likes of the 12-year-old, we do actually celebrate a bit of the inconsistency, because it's a bit of fun, and it also it helps people realize what they like. You see those Facebook groups of people who go mad for particular batches of the 12-year-old cask strength because they like them so much.
The 12-year-old cask strengths are all completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some similarities, but they are, beautifully done. You can cite them all side by side, and they are all different, which is lovely. And that does create that, I suppose that kind of excitement about the brand. We can now see 11, so 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 19, 1, 20. So we've got 11 just now, 11 12-year-old cask strengths out there for people to go and Pokemon, Pokemon the life out of them. Go ahead. Very similar to the many cask mates that are out there. And again, single casks, lots of single casks to go and collect. The power single cask range is something that's quite interesting. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, people seem to vary. It's something. I suppose it's the same as RedBreast as well. But Powers has the same effect. Powers, I think, has a much smaller audience, but the fans are so loyal to it. The people who really just have an affinity with the brand and love the taste of the whiskey, love to collect the single casks and have to have them. And funny enough, literally just today, I got a message from somebody asking about another single cask Powers had been come out, and where he could get it, what the price was, because he needed it for his collection of all the Powers casks.
There's just something about the RedBreast. I can't put that down, Joe. It's very, very hard. People will get some questions on it. Let me see. Yes, I do have your address, 100%. And look, that's really nice. Look, Shamini, Joe just introduced here. Shamini has written for the Irish Whiskey magazine, but she has her own blog.
What's the blog? I'll have a look.
Shamini, you can put your blog up there, and Joe can find you. But look, that's interesting. If it hadn't been for your RedBreast 12 cast strength, her blog would never have started.
That's a testament there, yeah.
And Stephen, I've put that up, and obviously we can, I think the guys are aware of it. There you go. It's one of the most consistent whiskies on the market. The RedBreast 12, Cassandra, 100%, and that's why it's not going to let you down. It just doesn't let you down,
But like that is something that people don't really talk about it that much because it's not as sexy as talking about taste notes. But consistency is so important when you're buying a whiskey, because if you buy a whiskey one day and buy the same whiskey a month later and it doesn't taste the way you expect it to, like that could put you off something for life. That's why you can never overestimate the importance of the blender, because they have one of the most important jobs, and it's making sure that consistency is there every time.
Michael's obviously saying that he's good to see. He's obviously just bumped into this conversation, which is nice. He also mentions that whiskey and chocolate is a great combo. 100% is, totally.
Definitely.
There's not many tastings I do without a little bit of chocolate, something sweet, maybe cake, chocolate,
whiskey and cheese.
Whiskey and cheese, yeah. Do you know, I've said this before, I'm not a cheese, I've said this to you before, I'm not a cheese lover. I like cheese only when it's melted. It sounds really pathetic, but I like it melted. Doesn't matter what the cheese is. I like lots of different cheese, but only when it's melted. There's something about it, and it's.
I mean, who doesn't love melted cheese anyway? People will queue an hour for a toasty, then I'm sure you can understand people like melted cheese.
You're not going to see me queue for 1 hour for a toasty. Yeah. Listen,
the reason I'm saying is just because we did an event on Friday with Mike's Fancy Cheese in Belfast, and we paired different cheeses with different whiskies, and I'm not an expert on cheese by any means. So having somebody else who is an expert was able to advise on what he thought would work, and then actually tasting them and going, wow, that actually does work really well. So that's something I want to do more of.
Well, do you know what, Joe? I mean, for you tonight, I mean, Sláinte is meant to be about 45 minutes long, but I think the problem here was that you've got such a massive portfolio. It's very difficult. It's easier with another brand who maybe only has one or two whiskies, and maybe they're samey in some respects. You've got so many different brands under your own portfolio. There's just so much to talk about. Yeah. Let's talk about the Whiskey Week for a second, Joe, because you have been very, very supportive. The idea of Sláinte in the series that we're doing is to say thank you. So I generally mean the support that we got in year one at the physical events was great. The amount of times I talk about the time we did the power station in the bottom part of the Duke, and we had all these American Marines in the corner.
Yeah. They were loving it. They absolutely loved it.
Loving it. And then obviously last year, you did two things last year, which you stood by your word, right? And I thought that that it's very admirable when someone says, "I'm going to do that," and then they come up with the goods. Two things you said: I'm going to do a day, so I want to do a couple of sessions, for the festival, and I'll ask nicely down the road what kind of special liquid can come to the table. So for everyone that missed last year, and just a reminder for those that came, Joe was the man behind, the question being asked to Billy Layton, is there something nice that can come to the festival? And all of a sudden we were blessed, and I do mean that, blessed, with a John's Lane cast strength.
You have to remember that I on a professional level, I'm a brand ambassador and I talk about whiskey, but on a personal level, I'm also just someone who loves to taste whiskey. So I get as much out of these things as you do, So I was thinking, this Belfast Whiskey Week, this is a good excuse for me to, chance my arm and ask for something very special. And we did get something special.
But you really did. And it was, for me, it was really, really special. The amount of people have spoken about it, and I've been really can't believe that was there. I missed that. We really wish I'd had that opportunity. and we were blessed. You know, we were absolutely blessed, and yeah. But you did lots of different tastings for us. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's the thing about working for Irish distillers / Dillon Bass is we do have a massive portfolio, you know, which is most of the time it's a blessing. Sometimes it can be challenging, but for the most part, it's fantastic because I have so much freedom to basically do any type of event that I want. You know, like we can do the kind of more casual, you know, Jameson events. We're a bit quirkier, and we can do the more traditional stuff with Pars. We can do the, you know, super high end with your Midletons and your RedBreasts, which is fantastic. So, like, yeah, I mean, when you first spoke to me about organizing the festival, I thought it was brilliant. And you're saying thank you to me for coming on here, but like, it's a massive opportunity for us as well. It's a massive opportunity for me to get out and to talk to people, and not even just on a local scale, which is mostly what I do almost entirely, but to interact with people all over the world to talk about our brands is like, you know, amazing.
Oh, good. No, I really enjoyed it. But I mean, look, this year, you know, this year we're going big. You know, we're going bigger, and it'll be nice to see. You know, you've got so much core range product there, which it'll be nice to see coming into the festival. And again, we've talked about some things, and look, we'll keep things under our hats. I think that's very important. It's really nice, but you know, we know that you're there, and you're going to have a very good presence. You know, we had Anna, your colleague last year as well, helped you out. You know, she ended up doing the Jameson range, didn't she? And
She did, yeah.
Yeah, and look, Dillon Bass obviously has other product in their portfolio, and it's not just whiskey. So there's stuff there to talk about, which will be nice. And I think that I'm just very eager to get you on board, and I really do. You know, I just see it's been an awesome opportunity for us at the festival. Again, just to, you know, the people that have been in our comments, we've got a lot of Americans coming through the comments tonight. People from Sweden, Norway. You know, I think I might have saw someone there from Australia popping in as well for the crack. Like different people from around the world. This is no longer Belfast centric. You know, I don't ever think it was Belfast centric. I think it was, you know, it was aimed the festival to be about bringing people to Belfast, but you know, that's about connecting the world to Belfast. And I think that, you know, I think that's done that. Last year was a big hoot, but I think this year, you know, we're garnering a lot more people from around the world who have expectations about the festival, who want to be involved. So I think it's a good opportunity for, yeah, lots of small distilleries to make to maybe dip their toe into different markets. But for the bigger guys out there, for the bigger businesses, to really think, well, do you know what? It's a good opportunity to flex. It's a good opportunity to show people what we've got, and I think that, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Whatever happens, Joe, I know that you'll pull off something special. I have that much faith in you. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, I think I almost didn't do myself any favors last year by setting the bar a bit high with some of the stuff that we got. So I'm going to try and you know, make it at least as good as we did last year. And I think, you know, without revealing anything, like if the demand is there to go in a different direction and to look outside of whiskey and do something else, then we could definitely do that. You know, obviously I'm whiskey, like it's my main thing, but as you say, we do have other liquids, other spirits in the portfolio. So who knows? We're in early stages yet, but all I know is that we're absolutely delighted to be involved and want to make the best possible events that we can.
Good. Listen, Joe, absolute pleasure having you on this evening. I'm going to say a couple of things just because, and I think we'll close this off together. But just to let people know, and if people are keeping a wee eye on the Facebook page, there's a couple of guys who have now won some prizes. So Jeff Sarantos, I think that you're on this list. Now I hope I'm not pronouncing this completely wrong, but Pauline Kahabaka and Colum. Now I want to say Olathian, but again I'm probably pronouncing that really badly. Ryan Sheridan and Damon Yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce these. So I'm going to try and get them onto the website, onto the Facebook page, and you guys have won some prizes because do you know what? It's been really nice. And Joe, I was telling you earlier that we'll be opening up the festival for people to register as participants in the festival probably in a couple of weeks' time. You know, probably by the end of the month, beginning of May, we'll be able to register people on the actual site itself onto its own kind of platform.
Yeah.
And looking forward to that interaction where people can, mingle virtually and
It's a great idea.
be able to see each other. Know that there's other people there. Know that that you can all come together. You can all have your interests and you can all talk about things. So we're very excited about launching the platform in a couple of weeks' time. And big thanks to everyone who's already got involved and again taking that leap of faith. A leap of faith in the festival, knowing that we're going to produce something very special. So really thankful for people who've come on board. Was the prize for the invitations? Yeah, Lee, you're on my list. Lee, I could actually pronounce your name. I was just, I was going down people who haven't, and yes, it was for the invitations, Lee. So anyone who I did a wee prize, Joe says, look, if anyone could get 50 plus people to sign up to the site and actually accept an invitation and come on, then we would be rewarding people with a cheeky wee something. But listen, Joe, Sláinte, thank you very much.
Sláinte, pleasure's all mine, Paul.
Good night. Thank you very much, Sláinte, for everyone.
Good night, guys. All the best.